I'm Catherine, the Communication Officer for the Southern Regional Assembly. Today, I'm just going to go through the communication requirements for activities funded under the Thrive scheme. So just in my experience, it's common for communication tasks to take a back seat as attention is focused on the primary project or core activities. However, for Thrive and all of the schemes falling under the Southern, Eastern and Midland and Northern and Western regional programmes, how we communicate our progress is really important. Effective communication not only ensures visibility of your project or activities, but also plays a pivotal role in how the European Commission perceives the work being carried out. And in the call document for Thrive, you'll find specific communication requirements that must be adhered to once your project is operational. So firstly, I just want to show you that there is a national communication guidelines, and under that we have some national communication objectives. These are set out by member state and that we have to follow these on all schemes under the regional programme. So what are those objectives? So the three objectives are to ensure visibility of the role and support provided by the EU, to promote an understanding of the objective of the EU funds, and to provide information on the opportunities, results and impact of EU funding. These are all in the National Communication Guidelines, which I can forward on to you after this workshop. It's just in a PDF if anyone is interested in seeing them. So next, I suppose, how are we going to follow these objectives in relation to the Thrive project, and why do we communicate? So first of all, there is a requirement under the EU regulations as part of the grant award. The EU Commission seek transparency regarding the utilisation of their funds. So the next point just to make is that delivering positive stories of Ireland, maximising EU funding opportunities for the region and their communities. So we aim to showcase the impactful work that you'll be doing in carrying out through the region and through the regional programme. So again, it's a really important point to make. And then the next point is to highlight the way Ireland's EU membership benefits communities and regions. By positioning your city or key town within the Thrive scheme as a standard example within the EU, it'll encourage others to follow suit and to adopt best practices. So this is why following the communication guidelines is so important from the very start of your project. All eyes will be on the Thrive scheme, as it will incorporate, as mentioned, the new Behouse rules, which the Commission are really interested in seeing. And by highlighting all your activities, it can help make sure we can secure future funding in the next regional programme for future projects and schemes in Ireland. So just a couple of the key documents that will provide you some more information on communications. So the first of all is the Common Provision Regulations, and there's a couple of pages within that that you can use that are just for communications. I'll go through that in the next slide. Another, as I mentioned, the National Communication Guidelines, which I can send on to you. There's a European Support Kit for Visibility. Again, it's a PDF that I can link that I can send on to you after this. There's a lot of information in these. And the next link I have there is a website called Cohesio. And Cohesio was set up from the EU Commission, where you can view projects within your region, but also similar projects to this in Europe. And you can search it by keywords. So again, if you put in heritage into the keywords, it'll show you some projects that will that have incorporated that throughout Europe. So again, it's a very good website to use. I have the link there, but I can put it into the chat as well for you. So just to go through some of the areas in the Common Provision Regulations. So it's in Chapter 3, Visibility, Transparency and Communication. Section 1 has the visibility of support from the funds, and the articles related to that are there as well. Section 2 is the transparency of implementation of the funds and communication on programmes, and again, the articles relating to that. Annex 9 is communications and visibility. That feeds into our national communication guidelines set out by member state, and that's tailored to sorry, my screen is gone here, tailored to the national requirements. Again, that feeds into our scheme communication guidelines, which is on our call document. That's set out by us, the managing authority, but it's tailored to the Thrive scheme. So there's a lot of information there that can help in making sure that you adhere to your communication requirements for the scheme. So next, just to bring that through to our communication requirements for the Thrive scheme alone. So you must acknowledge that national and EU support has been provided. You must use the programme logo and funding statement on all physical and online communication elements. Temporary signage highlighting ERDF support needs to be erected, and then a permanent plaque on completion of your project or activities. And next, you should have a dedicated web page on local authority sites. Social media posts using relevant hashtags need to be put out onto all your social media sites when you're mentioning Thrive. Acknowledgement of Government of Ireland, EU and Managing Authority on all promotional materials. And also, just to advise, managing authorities should be invited to official openings, events, meetings, and any announcements regarding the project. So just to move on to our programme logos and funding statements for Thrive, local authorities must use the logo strip and funding statement on communication and visibility material related to the co-funded activity, and it's depending on the programme area location. So you'll see for the Southern, Eastern and Midland programme, you have the Government of Ireland, the EU logo, and also our Southern Regional Assembly logo. The funding statement should read, Thrive is co-funded by the Government of Ireland and the European Union through the ERDF Southern, Eastern and Midland Regional Programme 21-27. And likewise with the Northern and Western Regional Assembly, you have your three logos with the funding statement. Thrive is co-funded by the Government of Ireland and the European Union through the ERDF Northern and Western Regional Programme 21-27. So just to expand on that a little bit, so the programme logo strip and funding statement must be used on all physical and online communication elements directly related to the ERDF co-funded activities and be prominently displayed on all communications and visibility activities related to the Thrive Awards, used in the format supplied and must not be recreated or modified in any way. Be in colour on our on the website and wherever possible on other materials related to the co-funded project. And the last point there, be of equal size in height or width as the biggest of the other logos displayed with it. And just to let you know, we have logo banners that we can provide in horizontal and vertical presentation. And just to also advise there, non-compliance with the communication regulations can result in a loss of up to 3% of ERDF funding. And I don't think anyone wants to lose any funding on this. So just to advise that. So I just wanted to throw in here a best practice. So this is an Energy Pathfinder project and it was operated under the Northern Periphery and Arctic programme with a focus on enhancing energy efficiency in heritage buildings. Among the structures addressed by the initiative was Myross Wood in Cork. So it gave a bit of a background information there. It has a YouTube video. Each area has its own spotlight. So I just use this as a best practice to show you how you can put a page onto your websites and give out the information on the scheme or on the project that you're working on. So within that YouTube video there that they have provided on Myross House in Cork, there's details on how stakeholders were involved and a comprehensive project communication ideas in what they were doing. So the next part then, so this is just some information that us as managing authorities and the two regional assemblies have promoted the communications on Thrive since the launch last month. And all relevant call documents and application forms can be found on our websites. I'll share a link to these in the chat after the presentation.
So just to follow up on what Catherine was saying, and a lot of what Catherine talked about were rules and regulations and guidelines. And they're really the basic, they're the minimum, that's what you absolutely have to do to draw down the full grant amount. And really what Catherine and myself and the rest of the team want to do is we want to work with you to tell the full story, to make sure, that the project gets the full credit, that the work you do gets the full credit and your local authority. And then by extension, the contribution of the EU funds also gets some credit. Okay, well, one of the first things that Catherine mentioned there was the physical visual elements, and there is a slight difference in projects in the funding amount. So projects receiving less than 500,000, you're required to display an A3 poster, and as Catherine said, there are requirements for that poster. You must include the logo block. You must include the funding statement. But we'd ask, when you are making a poster, when you are doing any publicity items, go that little bit extra. Talk about what the project is going to achieve. Include the really good photos, not just some random photo that I found on the internet. And there is an online generator that the Commission provide that can help you create posters. But Catherine and myself are also happy to work with you to produce something that's visually attractive and informative. So if you send us photos and you send us good text, we can help put something together for you. And then it's important that poster, and again, this is for the Strand 1, the smaller than 500k projects, it's important that poster is displayed in a public place. And you're very lucky in the local authorities. You've big reception areas, a lot of you've got nice foyers, you've got good footfall, the public come in. And it's something I think that us in the assemblies are quite jealous of. And then for the larger projects, projects receiving over 500k, that'll be the Strand 2 projects, it's important that you put up a temporary billboard. And as Patrick said, this is something that the Commission will look at. We get a lot of visitors from Brussels. They come to Ireland for various meetings, and they like to have those meetings in the regional towns. And they'll always go for a walk either before or after the meeting. And this is an example here where we had a couple of visitors from Brussels, and they had a meeting in Athlone. It wasn't anything to do with the project, but they went for a walk at lunchtime. They spotted the billboard, and immediately out come the phones to take the photos. And they're very impressed with that because it's a really good billboard. It meets all the regs and is bang in the middle of a project. I suppose that's one of the other things is the regs say that the billboard must be clearly visible to the public. And I know when you're doing the work on the Thrive project, it may not always be possible to put a billboard on a heritage building. It's often a challenge. And this is something that so this is an example here from Offaly where they addressed the challenge. They couldn't put the billboard at the actual project because it would have blocked traffic, it would have impeded footpaths. So they just put it on the road leading into the square where the development was. And this is another example from Mullingar. Again, at the time the decision was made that it wasn't possible to put the billboard at the site of the project, but they put up billboards on the approach roads. But I would say it's important as well, when you are putting up billboards, they are temporary, but they're permanently temporary for the duration of the project, because we have examples in the past where billboards went up, and I think there was one example in a previous programming period where billboards were removed to facilitate a St. Patrick's Day parade, and unfortunately that was the time when the town had the most visitors and the billboard wasn't there. And there was another example where billboards were removed for the week of Tidy Towns Judges, and again, as Catherine said, there is a 3% possibility for correction. Don't gamble with it. When you put up a billboard, leave the billboard up. And this is another example. This is a really good example this is Sligo. They were doing an urban development project on the street. They couldn't put a billboard up because it would have impeded either the traffic or the footpath. So they found a vacant shop and the billboard was put on the door. So it's bang smack in the middle of the project, and it meets all the regs. And then this is just another example, and it may tie in with your consultation process as well. Again, this is an example from Sligo. They have an extra billboard and they left it in HQ. They've got a nice information desk. We happened to visit her. This is another occasion where we had visitors from the Commission in Sligo at a meeting. and they went for a walk around afterwards. And Sligo had a nice information desk, and they had information about the EU co-funded project, but they also had information about other projects in the vicinity, and they were able to say, okay, look, this is the EU co-funded project, and the other projects were developed as a result of the initial funding coming from the EU. So it tied in nicely with the town, and the Commission were very impressed. And as Catherine said, when the work is completed, you do need to have a permanent plaque. These are a couple of local authority examples again from, this one here is from Dundalk, Dundalk, I think. And it's really important that you get the location where the public will see the plaque right. And this was a really good example from Dundalk. It's in the middle of the project. It's at an area where there are seats, so the public tend to congregate. So it really meets the definition of public. And this is another example from Sligo. They picked a really good focal point for the project. It's at the start of the project. And again, it's in the middle of Sligo. It's opposite the 8th statue. It's near the bridge. So it's a good public gathering point. I know Patrick asked me to show some good practice examples, but often I think when you're looking for good practice, sometimes it's actually easier to find a really bad practice example. And I didn't find any bad practice local authority examples, but this is an example of a public plaque from some broadband infrastructure that we funded in a previous programme. And so if you don't mind the danger sign and the two do not pass signs, and you bring your boots because it's really, really mucky, and you're quite happy to go on a 2 or 3 kilometre trek, you're greeted with this compound with scary buzzing noises because there's a lot of transformers in there. And if you go up to the fence, you find this plaque, so I think probably the only people who've seen that plaque in the last 5 or 6 years are myself and my dog. So it's not so much clearly visible to the public. It may meet the regs that Catherine talked about, the funding statement and the logos, but it's not clearly visible to the public. And it's something that you will have to look at when you do your Thrive projects. Where do we put the plaque? Let's get it near the front door. Let's get it in the reception area. Let's get it somewhere where the public will see it. Catherine also mentioned websites, and she gave the regs, and again, they're the basic minimum. But there are some really good examples out there. Like, this is a previous development. Again, it's Sligo County Council here. I just tend to focus on them because they're geographically very near me. So they did the project, they did the description of the project, but they didn't leave it static as the project developed. They produced regular newsletters. Those newsletters were available in HQ in printed copy, and they were available to download from the website in PDF format. And there's another good example, really good example from the last round of funding. We co-funded, or we worked with Louth County Council, and they put up a photo gallery at the start of the project with 5 or 6 photos. And as the project was constructed, they added photos every week. And then you can scroll back to the photo gallery, and you can see each photo, and you can see, before, during, and after. And it just looks really, really good. And the other thing is as well, that Catherine did mention, you've got to put logos, you've got to put a funding statement. And these are the logos from the previous programming period. But I just say, when you do put the logos, when you do put the funding statement on your webpage, please put it up near the top. Don't have us, or don't have the Commission scrolling down 6-7 pages to find the logos and the funding statement. Get it up near the top of the page. The other thing Catherine talked about as well was social media, which is a really great way of telling the project story. But we just have a couple of asks when you're using social media. Just include lots and lots of photos. The men in suits photos are great, but let's see the public. Let's see the public experiencing the project, and let's see the project itself. And then we also ask, please use the hashtag EU in my region. There's a couple of reasons for that. One is for visibility reasons. It's something that we will spot and we can retweet. It's also something that the Commission look out for. They have monitoring software which looks at things like websites, it looks at things like social media, and they will see if that EU in my region hashtag is used, and they will repost, or they will retweet or whatever if they see that EU in my region. So it just increases the visibility of your project and the funding. And then I suppose the other thing is when you are using social media and you're posting about your project, we ask you to link, as well as the hashtag, which we will spot, but just link the relevant accounts. So, tag us or link us, link the managing authority websites, our social media accounts. tag the EU funds account, tag community groups. If you're doing a heritage building, tag the local historical society, tag the tidy towns, tag the local youth club, tag anything that will increase visibility and increase awareness of your project. So this is just one of the final things to talk about is as advertisements. It's not something required under the regs, but it's something that we have done in the past. This is the campaign that we did jointly with Sligo County Council in the previous programming period. It was a large-scale advertising campaign. It was co-funded in part by the Commission under EU Delivers in the Region project, and there was billboards around the town. We also ran adverts in the papers in Sligo, and we had slots on the radio at the time as well. So it really, really raised the visibility of the project around the town. And also, Catherine mentioned events. We expecting a couple of events during the programme, a launch event and an official opening. And we're here to work with you, to try and make those events something that goes beyond, a photo opportunity. Again, cutting a ribbon, the people in suits photos again. And we've lots of experience working with beneficiaries on this kind of thing before. We've done things where we've had competitions where we've invited, things like the TY classes from local schools to do essay competitions about the project or about the town or about EU funding. And we've given out prizes and invited them to the day. So look, when we get to that stage, Catherine and myself will be happy to work with you to really host a proper open day event rather than something that's just a photo op. And I suppose then maybe just the final thing I'll mention, and again, it's something we've done before. We've worked with beneficiaries and we'll be happy to work again, is to produce merchandise to promote the project. We had a couple of nice examples. We've done pens and notepads and that kind of stuff. We've done some really nice tote bags. And I suppose the other things we've done in the past as well is for particularly photogenic projects that will have visitors. We've done postcards. Postcards making a bit of a comeback. When you visit a heritage building that's now a public space, and you can pick up a postcard with a nice picture of the project, little information about the local authority and the EU funds on the back, and space for you to write, wish you were here, and post it back to Granny or Auntie or whoever. And again, that's something that we would be very happy to work with you when the projects are developed. So I suppose that's just the end of my presentation. But again, just to emphasize, the regs are there to tell you what you have to do. But you've got two communications officers available to work with you as well to help, tell the full story of what the project is doing, to make sure that you get the credit and your authority gets the credit. And as I said at the start, that the EU funds also get the credit. Okay, thank you.